So here we are with our second Jedi testing episode. We took a couple weeks off due to some hectic schedules around here and due to Worlds, but we are back and ready to go. Today we're going to take a look at a tricolor deck. A lot of people have kind of put down tricolor, said it's not very good, said it's not very efficient to make. My playtest group disagrees. We've had a tricolor deck running around since back in July. We did not take it to Nationals. We thought there were some other things going on that were a bit too powerful. And we also did not take it to Worlds. We did not think it was a good meta choice for Worlds. However, we've spent a lot of time doing the math on how to get Tri-Faction to work. We're very proud of our math. We know it works. And we wanted to give you guys a sample today of one of our favorite tricolor deck lists. So here it is. This is a light side deck. And the math behind a tricolor deck is kind of what we refer to as the 1, 2, 3, 4 method. Okay? And what that means is you essentially have your affiliations are going to be one type of affiliation, and then there's going to be 2 of another affiliation, 3 of a third affiliation, and 4 of a fourth affiliation. How does that equal tricolor? Well, because the first objective that you're running is a neutral affiliation. And this is your one of. In the 1, 2, 3, 4 method, this is the 1. Rumors that the cantina is designed to help your math. It increases your odds of being able to always pay for your tri-faction or your tricolors in whatever method you would like. It's really good at doing that. It really helps your math, as you'll see. Next up, we have 2 event cards that come with Rumors at the Cantina. The first is Rescue Mission. This card is very good. Lets you rescue any captured card, whether it's an event, a resource, an enhancement, or a unit. If it happens to be a unit, you get to put it into play. So when you're playing this card, you want to pay particular attention to where your units go if they get captured. If you can see, someone plays captured or Utini, those are cards where you know where your cards are going. Cards like Tatooine Crash, you don't actually know. So you'll want to make sure to pay attention when you can. And this card is great. I really like using it when my opponent attacks. I can use it to put a blocker, say Chewbacca, into play. It has a lot of benefits. Next up is It Could Be Worse. This is another card most opponents don't see coming, similar to Rescue Mission. It Could Be Worse prevents 1 damage to a unit or objective. This helps you get out of force chokes. This helps you get out of Devastator Blasts. It helps you get out of a lot of things. This is a very, very potent card. I can't like it enough. Common Ground is not that great of a card. It has 2 force icons, which is good. It costs 1, which is not so good. What it does is it's another card that helps your math for trying to do resource matching. However, since you have to pay for it, and since it only works on 1 objective, it's not as powerful as other cards in this deck. And then I actually really like Rebel Sympathizer. We have a lot of complaints. We hear a lot of complaints from people, mainly that it's force chokeable. And I don't really think that's fair. I think if I pay 1 for a Rebel Sympathizer and my opponent wants to force choke it, I'm pretty much okay with that. That's a Cloud City Operative, that's a Twilight Loyalist, that's all kinds of stuff that aren't being choked. The deck does not need Rebel Sympathizers to win. They're just a very nice little help. So if, again, opponents want to waste it on that, that's great. Typically it's like, Tauntauns in the Hoth deck that I ran at Worlds. This is a card that it looks like a great target for Force Choke, but in actuality, if they're wasting a Force Choke on it, that means your other stuff isn't getting choked. So that's pretty good. Alright, so neutral is the 1 in this stack. The 2 in this stack is going to be Jedi, and the Jedi objective is our good old Rev 5 guy here. We have Journey to Dagobah. This is the 2 of a Jedi affiliation, and it forces you to start Jedi. That's why it's the 2 of. You don't have any other Jedi affiliation objectives in the deck. And this also helps your math if it were to be destroyed. You can go through your deck, you can take out any objective you want and put it into play. So if your opponent does destroy it, and it's likely they will because it only has 4 health, you'll be able to put whatever objective you want in play and match your resources again, if say you need to. One thing to keep in mind here is when you're looking at your top 4 objectives when the game starts, you start with Jedi, and as you can see, there's not many Jedi requirements. So if you see one of these Journey Dagobahs in your starting, it's not always that great. Now, Journey Dagobah brings 2 copies of Target of Opportunities. I really like Target of Opportunity. I feel like it's a really good card. And it does a lot to complement the deck. The deck is all about lots of action. So having targets in here is never a bad thing. Double Strike is not that great in this deck, particularly because you just don't have a lot of characters. However, the characters you do have typically have tactics. So double striking one of them, say a Class the Operative, a Twilight Loyalist, it's always a good thing. So don't be afraid to toss double strikes away, and don't be afraid to use double strikes on your tactics, guys. Also, this deck brings a free resource with R2. I'm not a huge fan of R2. I'm not a huge fan of having 2 R2s in a deck. I like only one. However, he can't be force choked. He's a free resource. It's a good thing. And then the Jedi cards this deck brings is Red 5, which has 3 blast icons, which is very crucial for this deck, and Twilight Loyalist, which is the tactics. So the Twilight Loyalist is kind of a give or take. You don't really need him, but if your opponent doesn't have tactics, he's really good. Even if they do have tactics, he can kind of force some interesting situations. And Red 5 is very, very good as well. As we said, 3 blast damage. The 2 health is kind of a bummer. He'll die. He's pretty fragile. But combined with some of the other cards in this deck, he really packs a pretty big punch. So that is the 1 is the neutral, the 2 is Jedi, and our 3 starts with Smugglers and Spies. So we run 1 copy of Prepare for Evacuation. This card's pretty good on its own. You know, you don't really need other Hoth objectives. It works on itself, so if they want to blow it up, it's a good thing. It's going to bounce some units. But it also brings a Battle Hoth, which in some games can act like a target of opportunity if your opponent's playing Hoth, and in the other games, it's pretty much just a 3 force icon help you win the edge card. The 1 of Ion Cannon Burst isn't that great. However, one of this deck's weaknesses is like a turn 1 Devastator. So Cannon Burst against a Devastator is actually pretty devastating. Haha. This guy, the Action Series Bulk Transport, is really bad. Try not to put this into play unless you have to. If you have to, the good news is there still are some 2-drops or less characters that actually are pretty fun to have in play. So if you have to put him in, fine. If not, he's 2-edge, which is pretty good. And then the Renegade Squadron Escorts, everybody knows how good these are. This is a pretty heavy vehicle deck, so having a 2 health, 1 blast icon, and Protect is pretty legit. And then the other aspect here, of the 3rd, is going to be Blockade Runners. So again, you have 1 neutral affiliation, you have 2 Jedi affiliation, now you have 3 Smuggler and Spy affiliations. And we run Raise the Stakes for several reasons. Free damage, this deck loves free damage. The Swindled is just okay. It's pretty good in certain games, and it's really bad in others. There's only 2 in the deck, so I'm sure when one shows up, you'll probably have a good use for it, but sometimes you can just throw it away. It's not always relevant in all games. I'm not a big fan of Smuggling Compartment. It does have some synergy in this deck, being as there are a lot of vehicles, but typically it's just an edge card with 2 force icons. There are no neutral cards here, or units here, but you do get 2 Cloud City Operatives, and you do get 2 Blockade Runners. Cloud City Operatives are actually pretty good because a lot of the ways to stop this deck is to tactics it down, since it's heavy hitting vehicle decks, or vehicle units. So having a card that removes tactics and puts them somewhere else is actually incredibly beneficial. It also comes with tactics, so you can tactics down their guys before you attack and put them into bad situations as well. And what really needs to be said about the Blockade Runner, this card is absolutely ridiculous. 2 blast icons, can't be blocked by units that cost more than 3 or more, and 3 health. It's just a good unit. And so that's the 3, and then our 4 is actually Rebel, and it starts with Red 2. We're going to have 2 copies of this for Defensive Yavin. It lets your vehicles be cheaper. It also comes with 2 copies of Rebel Assault, which is great damage. It's good ways to kill objective. It's kind of a bummer that the deck doesn't come with Target of Opportunities, but Rebel Assault is a pretty good supplement. It also comes with 2 Hidden Outposts, which, this deck likes resources, sure, but this deck doesn't absolutely need resources. So having them in there is fine. but they're not entirely crucial to winning. Astromech Droid upgrade is insane in this deck. As you can see already, there are a lot of vehicles, so having a 1 cost with 2 Force Icons card that is essentially a Jedi lightsaber for vehicles is obviously very, very good. I'm not a big fan of Y-Wings. I know some people like them. I like what they can represent, but most of the times they're just going to die very easily and very painfully and not really do much. So I'm not a big fan of paying 2 for these guys unless you see some killer play with them or unless it's just absolutely warranted. And then the big heavy hitter here is Red 2. He only has 1 blast icon and it is edge enabled. However, there's a lot of free damage in this deck between target opportunities. You get the extra damage with Rebel Assaults. You get the extra damage with Raise the Stakes. So he actually attacks pretty hard. If it's him with Raise the Stakes, that is 3 damage. If he blows up the objective, you get to go again and something else. So he actually does hit very hard. And then the final piece of the puzzle is going to be Rogue 3. So what we're running this for is we get 2 Hoth operations. There are only 3 Hoth locations in the deck, so this doesn't really trigger all that often, to be honest. But it does bring 2 more target opportunities, which is really good. And it does also bring 2 Hoth survival gears, which are just okay. There's a few characters in the deck that's worth putting on, say a Cloud City Operative or a Twilight Loyalist, but outside of that, it's pretty much just going to be an edge card. You get 2 Snow Speeders, which are obviously worse than Y-Wings, but they're also situational. If you have Hoth operations in play, then their value is dramatically increased. I just realized I missed Both and Spy earlier. Don't really care about Both and Spy. It's a pretty worthless unit. Anyway, you also get Rogue 3 and Wedge, which is really the true shining glory here. Wedge on Red 5 is pretty good, Wedge on Rogue 3 is pretty good, and Wedge on Red 2 is pretty good. He can't go on blockade runners. Those guys are capital ships. So I'm sure everybody knows the interaction here. It's very, very good to be able to attack multiple times with Wedge. And Rogue 3 loves enhancements, so Wedge being an enhancement, and the Astromech Droid being an enhancement, and the Smuggling Compartment being an enhancement. As you can see, there's just a lot of synergy going on here. So that is pretty much the deck. I will kind of shut up now so you guys can see it in action on the run through on OCTGN with it. If you have any questions, please head over to our forums to discuss. But this is Tricolor. This deck has done very well for us. Its only real downsides are if opponent plays a turn 1 Devastator, or opponent plays a turn 1 Emperor. Those are not very fun for this deck. They're a little hard to overcome. I'd like to think they're a little hard for most decks to overcome, but this deck, they're particularly hard to come. So there it is. Check out the video afterwards and discuss on our forums. Okay, and here we are going to give the Tricolor deck a run through. Our opponent here is Magni. He has started the Scum and Villainy objective, and we're going to go ahead and get things underway and see how it goes. And it looks like he's taking a mulligan. Our starting objectives are pretty great. We've got double Hoth Ops, which is pretty good. We've got defensive Yavin, and we've got preparation for evac. So we're in a bit of a pickle here. We can obviously get our tricolor in effect. If we start a Rebel, a Smuggler, and we obviously start a Jedi, so we'll have all 3 affiliations. So no matter what, preparation for evacuation wants to be in our starting 4, which means we need to kick out one of these 3 Rebel. So the pickle here is that all 3 of these Rebel are really good. So unfortunately here I'm gonna have to go with double Hoth operations. My opponent has started Scum and Villainy, so I'm pretty confident I will control more Hoth ops than my opponent. And as hugely beneficial as defensive Yavin is, it's not something that I want to keep over Hoth operations in this particular game. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it away. And let's go ahead and see what the opening hand is. Our opening hand is horrible.
We do not want any of these cards in our deck. Our deck is a very strong vehicle deck, and these are not very strong vehicle cards. So we're going to go ahead and mulligan. Alright, so we'll give this a mulligan here. Hope for a much stronger, more explosive opening hand. Almost the exact same hand, but the benefit here is that we did find a Rogue 3, so that's pretty good. And it's been a little while since I played on Octagon, so if I make some glowing mistakes, please bear with me here. Alright, so he's on a Scum and Sith build. We know he's running Emperor now, we know he's running Krat Dragons, and he now gets to look at our hand. So let's go ahead and... He's now toying with us for running Tricolor. So let's see what happens. I typically don't like my opponent to start this. Getting to see my opening hand is a pretty big deal, but on top of that, I really don't like this set comes with Get Me Solo, and seeing the opening hand as a start kind of sucks. So I always try to anticipate if they start Jabba's orders that they've probably got Get Me Solo, as he did, in hand. So here goes Rogue 3. Yep. I actually have never interacted with Get Me Solo correctly here, so I don't know if I just need to drag it out or what, but I'll try that and see what he does. So now our mulligan hand has turned into just utter garbage. The only good news here is that we do get to draw 2 cards minimal at the start of our turn, so hopefully that'll work out pretty well. I actually like the Hoth Survival Gear in this hand. I think the worst card here is going to be Bothan Spy, so I think that's what we're going to throw away. I'm not too interested in what he has in his hand. Wow. Double Get Me Solo. So he should name Cloud City Operative here. Yep. And we'll drag that out to him there. And I'm actually okay. This gives us like a mini mulligan. So yes, it stinks that we lost Rogue 3. We know he's on the top. I hate attacking feeding the pit. It's just a waste of time. So I'm glad that he stuck Rogue 3 on Jabba's orders. That was pretty nice of him. So yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to have to toss this Bothan Spy and really hope that we draw something good. Our opening hand was garbage, and our mulligan was equally garbage. Alright, so he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 resources to work with. Does it Get Me Solo really 3? I actually didn't know it was free. Alright, I was very confused what happened to those focus tokens. So, anyway, wow, an interrogation droid as well. And he gets our Hoth Survival Gear. So this guy has had an incredibly explosive start. Thankfully, he's only got 3 cards left, and I'm hoping that they're not too impressive because the first 3 were incredibly impressive. So we're actually going to get to draw 4 cards, which is pretty awesome. Again, it's like a little miniature mulligan, and the only thing I really miss is the Rogue 3. So we're going to go ahead and drag over this Bothan Spy and get an utterly craptastic draw. I don't know why Octagon is just really hating us. So we'll start by dropping here, and we'll go ahead and play the Bothan Spy. We'll keep our resource up on preparation for evac, and So his hand is pretty bad, like I thought. So he's got a bib, which is fine. Disturbance in the force. Place one focus on each enemy that is committed to the force. It's just, I don't like that card at all. And this guy is fine for shielding, but all right. So let's see. We know he's had, I think 5 in hand. I think we go ahead and slam into the into that Emperor's Web here. Unfortunately, Scum doesn't blow up many objectives, especially this control type Scum. So preparation for evacuation probably won't do much, even though all 3 of my objectives are off. So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and go to conflict. We're going to go butt heads against that Emperor's Web here. We're going to send in our tactics. This is what I like to refer to as a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. He's going to have to block here. Otherwise, I'm just going to tactics him down, and I'm going to steal the force. He's going to need to win this edge battle, but I think I've got it under control. So. We know he doesn't have a twist. And we'll go ahead and pass on the 4. He probably put in the 3, so he probably has the 4, and he's going to tap down the Boffin Spy. That would be my guess. Or he's going to keep the 4, and we'll go that way. Yep, 4, just like I thought. But we get the target through, which is all we wanted. All right. And for our secret weapon. So the Cantina mission is obviously here for this particular card. There are certain people out there that you like to capture, and this is a card they don't see happening too often. So let's see how it goes. Sorry about that. It was fighting with me pretty hard. So now we're going to go ahead and slam into Job's orders. My opponent just said that's a once-a-year play. Thankfully, it does happen more often than not with this deck. All right. All right. Okay, probably not more often than not, but it does happen plenty of times. So we'll just jump right ahead here. He said okay, and we'll go to strike. Do 2 there. Finish attacking. I'll never take the force with Rogue 3. That would have been a bad idea. And we'll go ahead and pass it on to him. So, not exactly sure what's going to happen here. He got to draw 5 cards, and he could have a pretty explosive play coming at us. So. He's having to think pretty hard, so I'm going to take a guess that means Rogue 3 is going to be pretty safe. Yep, there's Bib, the card he held back. So he will now most likely attack with Bib and lock down Rogue 3. Yep. I don't really love this play. This deck can very easily... oh wow, he didn't lock down Rogue 3. Okay, so I think the play is to lock down Rogue 3. I think he's putting himself in a situation where he has to win an edge battle, and I have double Hoth operations, so I don't necessarily like that he did that. And then he's making a joke about Scum being bad. So I think he should have focused on locking down Rogue 3, even though I think I have better odds of, or a good odds of finding a wedge to unlock Rogue 3. I think holding back and hoping that winning the edge battle would do something is the wrong play. And then, as I was saying, I'm going to actually go ahead and toss this Swindle here. He's kind of showing signs of a deck that's not going to have all that many 2-drops, so I don't think it's going to be all that worthwhile. And I need to see some explosive cards. These are explosive cards. I really like this hand. So, I like to lead with the phrase derp, as I believe I've mentioned before in the videos. The D stands for draw, the R stands for resources, and the P stands for protect. That is the order in which you should play your units, or your cards from your hand. So I do not have any cards that draw. I do have resources here, so I'm going to go ahead and lead with them. But if you'll notice, I don't have any cards that require any sort of smuggler resources. So I'm going to go ahead and use the smuggler resource match here to play my neutral card. And then now I have decisions. I've got just 4 resources up. I'd love to put Rogue 3 into play, and I'd love to put Wedge or Red 2 into play. I said Rogue 3, Red 5, sorry. And I've also got a Rebel Assault. I'm going to hold that Rebel Assault. It will finish off my my Jabba's orders pretty well for me. So what I want to probably do is try and slam into Feeding the Pit here. And I'm going to do it in such a way that I can lock down Bib and take the Force back. So my goal is to play this like this. I'm going to go ahead and leave a Rebel resource up to make look like I'm threatening something. And then what we're going to do is we're going to see if he's got anything he needs to do. And he does not. I'm not too worried about his hand of 5. I like my hands pretty well for winning the edge. And we're going to go ahead and attack this objective here. We're going to send all 3, 3, 4, 5, and a tactics. So if we win the edge, we're going to tactics down and then just blow up the objective. I'm aware that oh, he's passing. Okay, wow. All right, so he's passing, and we'll just go ahead and go over to edge, and I'll get to keep my target here. Okay, so he's played Force Choke and targeted the guy. We're going to go ahead and just get rid of him. Nothing we can really do about that, unfortunately, but we will go ahead and take the objective here, I believe. 5, and he doesn't have Jabba's Palestine. So, okay. So we'll go ahead and win that edge. We'll go ahead and do 3 damage. Oh. Yep. Okay. So he was taking the action, and I should have. Actually, I don't know why he did. I guess he's just healing. It's going to die anyway. So, so there's that. We'll go ahead and make sure to focus him, and then focus there, and do the remaining 2, and then the 5th on a post. So. All right. So sadly, he's going to get that Force Choke back and probably choke the Bothan. Oh no, that's Emperor. What am I thinking? It's been a while since I've played. I just saw the timer on the Emperor's Web and thought that was triggering off of that. Anyway, so I actually don't want to commit. Well, maybe I should commit the Bothan here. No. I don't like committing the Bothan, but I'll go ahead and commit the Bothan. And the reason we're doing so is strictly because if he attacks with his guys next turn to lock things down, it's okay because we'll try and take the force back. Oh man, this is just getting brutal. And he takes red 2. Thankfully he left us with all of our I win cards. So right now we just need to do 3 damage to Emperor's Web, and I'm feeling pretty good about the ability to do so. We'll see how he decides to handle his attacks here. I'm hoping he doesn't double focus Rogue 3. I have no idea what this card does. After you refresh, okay, so he's gonna maybe exhaust Bib. I don't know what he's planning on doing here. So it's just a bit of an awkward play for me. He's down to just 7 resources thanks to Bib. So I'm guessing he's going to use Bib to put something into play and then be able to refresh Bib at the start of his turn. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. So big guy, and that big guy is just not going to matter all that much, especially because he only left himself the 1 tactics. So Wedge is most likely going to win this game for us combined with Rebel Assault. So he's going to probably attack with the interrogation. Wow, he's not attacking with the interrogation droid. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to keep the hand. I absolutely love the hand. Okay, that would have been a much bigger deal if you could have gotten Wedge, but I've got double Rebel Assault in my hand now. So yeah. So Wedge is now gone, and I think we still win the game. We just need to stick 1 damage onto Emperor's Web, and we've got plenty of ways to do so. So, all right, here we go. I never lead with Rebel Assaults. I always finish with Rebel Assaults. I don't know if we're in the action or deployment window or not. I can't remember exactly. Okay, conflict phase. So let's see if he's got anything else. All right. So this should be the game unless he's got something really sneaky. Oops. Let's see. And he should have to double block here. Alright, so I've got double Hothops, so I'll pass. And he's realized what's going to happen. So he has to put cards in, and the Hothops let me. He says weird deck. Most people aren't used to seeing the tricolor deck. In our playtest area here, me and we've busted it out several times. We like to run it at sort of our league. Our league events, our friendly get-togethers, if you will. Tricolor can always go south. That is true. Thankfully, our math behind Tricolor is really good, and it typically works pretty well. Just most people aren't aware about it. We don't talk much about it. He says he likes it for its randomness. Yeah, again, most people are just not ready for it. Definitely rogue some people, you know. So that is kind of the idea. Most people don't see it coming. Most people think, oh, Tricolor, I got this. And really, it's just a deck of incredibly explosive units. it does very, very well by dropping the light side's heaviest hitters. I know a lot of people will probably say Home 1 is one of the light side's heaviest hitters, but I would actually disagree with that. I like Home 1, but he's sort of a one-trick pony. He's almost immediately wiped out. Obviously, when he hits the board, he is very threatening, don't get me wrong. We've tried builds with him in, but the 5 for the double blast just overcost him for a deck of this nature. You specifically can look at it and you'll see that everything is pretty much double blast and nothing costs 5. So the idea here is to hit hard, hit fast, and I mean, you saw he had control of the force the entire game, and I still won with the dialed 5. And I really only put 2 main units onto the board, and that was it. Obviously, the double rebel assaults are huge, the double targets are huge, but again, these light side heavy hitters just really, really get the job done. I actually really like Rescue Mission. I do want to talk about that just for a bit. People really kind of seem to gloss over the Rumors at the Cantina, and I personally feel like Rumors at the Cantina actually holds quite a lot of cards that I really, really like. I know a lot of people view the one-drop guy that reduces the cost of your next unit, or the next card you play, if you sacrifice him. A lot of people view him as force choke bait, but I like him as force choke bait. Yes, it kind of stinks if I play him and you force choke him, but at the same time, that's a Cloud City operative that you're not force choking, or that might be a Twilight loyalist that you're not force choking, you know. So I like having 2 of those guys. I really, really like Capture or Rescue Mission. It's an action, you can do it at any time. So if you know where your unit is that you want to free and they attack into you, you can always free that unit back and make it as a blocker. I've had several games where opponents will capture, say, Chewie, and if I'd had Rescue Mission in there, their attack is now just a horrible decision. I really like it, obviously, with Leia. It can cause a lot of shenanigans there as well. This deck doesn't have a whole lot of characters that it can free, but if you notice, this can capture any unit. So if they are doing any sort of hijinks like this guy happened to be doing, that focuses on capture, this is a great card to kind of rebuff that idea. And the 2 force icons on it are pretty great as well. Did Rescue Mission win me the game? Probably not. I would say, well, don't get solo ×2 in the opening hand is really, really explosive, and the interrogation droid equally explosive. It's kind of a do-nothing deck. Like, it's going to try and lock out your hand and capture your cards, but unless he finds his Krat Dragons or things like that, like, his deck isn't really going to be all that explosive. Now, if he could have landed Emperor early, that would have obviously hurt significantly. So maybe I'm a little lucky there that Emperor did not come down. We do know that this deck does have a major weakness to cards like Turn 1 Devastator and Turn 1 Emperor. They're just harder to overcome. Our deck focuses on blast damage as opposed to unit damage. And then it kind of leaves you in a position, especially Emperor, where you're looking to find Rebel Assaults. But as it is, that was a pretty fun and pretty good display of just exactly what this kind of deck can do. It hits hard, it hits fast, and a lot of people, again, it's kind of a mental thing. They see Tricolor start, and they think you have no idea what you're doing. And then when they start to lose, when the game starts to go downhill, I think a lot of people have a bit of a mental block to it, and they're trying to figure out how to turn that game around. Mistakes I think my opponent made, I think that he probably could have tried to tactics down my guys a bit more. Granted, I had Wedge in hand, so it wasn't going to be that fruitful for him, but I do think he probably could have tried just a little bit harder to tactics them down. Leaving the tactic defenders back is typically a safe plan, but I think when facing this kind of damage on this kind of scale, you have to step up a little bit and say, I've got to protect my stuff. And it might not be the best play, it might not be the right play, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that you have to make some sort of an effort instead of a just sit back approach and hope that it goes your way. I also think that our Twilight loyalist on turn 1 against his interrogation droid was a very good damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If he doesn't block, I take the force back, and if he does block, he's missing an interrogation droid for 2 turns. And missing that interrogation droid for 2 turns was probably pretty significant. But anyway, that's the deck. That's how it plays. It hits hard, it hits big, it hits fast. It just doesn't like big units on the opponent's side, and it makes things a little tricky. But Admittedly, you know, if I was against a Navy deck, I'd feel pretty secure here because of Hoth Ops. You know, Hoth Ops is going to slow them down a turn or two, and this deck hits pretty fast. Or not Hoth Ops, I'm sorry, but preparation for evacuation. This deck hits pretty hard and hits pretty fast, so it's going to do a lot in terms of going that extra mileage to get the job done. So anyway, that is the deck. That is it in action. If you have questions, please head over to our forums and please discuss there. We'd love to chat it up with you. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these Jedi testing sessions. I know we missed, I believe it was last week, there was a downtime because of Worlds, and as I explained online, we've had a very sick pet here. So we are back in action with them starting today. Hope you guys enjoy it. These will tend to be more rogue decks, more fun decks. Decks that people aren't talking about, decks that people aren't playing or discussing online, and things that you won't really see everywhere. But they win, and they win well, and they're fun to play. And that's really the important part. We have done the first 2 videos as light side, so I can guarantee you the next 2 videos will be dark side. So enjoy, have fun with it, and thanks for checking out the video.